Hello, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for joining us, or joining me rather, for this very special one-off show. I might do more shows of this if this goes well. First of all, can I thank you very, very much for everyone who's joined me here today. The length of the show, I think, will be about 30 minutes. We might go a bit longer, depending on content and chat from the chat bar on the side. But let's aim for about 30 minutes and see how it goes from there. So can I just say a very, very special welcome to, we've got Louise, Deb, John, Eva, Katrina, Donna, Catherine, Casey, and a few more have joined us. I think we've about 50 people altogether registered for the show this afternoon. Thank you very much for that. So to explain how this came about, my name is Stephen O'Donnell, and I work primarily in recruitment and technology, and one of those technologies is video being used for any number of purposes. Obviously, for the most part, I look at the recruitment aspects of it. Hence the shirt. I'm not with Pocket Recruiter anymore, but this was the first shirt I grabbed this morning when I came out to come to work. But anything to do with video and, frankly, gadgets is my sweet spot. So thank you very much for joining me here today. The aim of the show here is to show, well, obviously the title is using ManyCam with Crowdcast. I imagine that many of you already use Crowdcast, and I imagine that some of you are aware of ManyCam. Crowdcast, just for anyone who isn't too familiar with Crowdcast itself, Crowdcast is rightly seen as the most popular webcasting platform right now. Zoom obviously is much better known, but amongst people who are producing webcast content, then Crowdcast is right there for user friendliness. Many organizations, churches, universities, social groups, as well as big businesses love its features. However, people are always looking to do more. They're always looking to have additional features. They're always looking to Crowdcast to add on extra ways in which they can make their shows just that little bit more inviting, engaging, and three-dimensional. Things like adding a logo on the bottom corner, as you can see I've got here, or a text overlay, or adding extra people or shared screens without using one of your 4 Crowdcast seats. If you use Crowdcast, you'll know that you are limited to having 4 people on screen. If one of those people want to share their screen, then 3 people and a shared screen would be the limit that you would have. So you're always kind of pushing up against the boundaries of what's possible. And what I want to show here today is ways in which we can make some of those things very possible. So, as I say, in this webinar, I'll be showing you exactly how you can achieve that and much more. The admission to the event today is free. It's obviously a free webinar. If you feel that you're going to get or are getting value from it, then please click down below the donate button. Whatever you think would be appropriate, then it would be very welcome. Thank you very much. Call it a tip jar if you like, if you feel this is of value to you. I should also stress that this is my own webinar. I don't work with, for, or anyway connected with Crowdcast or indeed ManyCam. I'm not sure what they would say if they saw me producing this show. I hope they think it's going to be a good thing. But as I say, obviously by doing this show, I'm endorsing Crowdcast and I'm endorsing ManyCam. There are many other products out there, and I have to say I've used many and or most of them. They all have the pros and cons, but for the past 2 years, I've settled on using Crowdcast. Crowdcast does almost everything that I want it to do, and in most of that time, I've been using ManyCam as well. So Crowdcast itself is a really user-friendly communications platform with a really sophisticated set of features, and that allows people with almost zero online experience, video experience, to produce really professional content for either small groups or right up to large multinationals broadcasting tailored content to thousands of people. Every day of the week, Crowdcast are hosting events for organizations worldwide that might have up to 10,000 or 20,000 attendees. They can be free events, they can be paid for events, they can be events that are donated like this one here. In the video platform sector, Crowdcast is seen as essentially an originating platform, meaning that the content is generated live right there, as this is here now, and then broadcast to your audience. So you guys are the audience, but there are other people that could be watching this event either live now or later on whenever a show is broadcast on Crowdcast, it can also be streamed elsewhere. So as an originating platform, Crowdcast can have attendees here and people are chatting in the chat bar there, but it can also be streamed out to other platforms. Notably, in the back end, when you set up events, you can stream it out to Facebook, to Periscope, which goes to Twitter, and of course to YouTube. There is an option as well where you can stream out to a custom channel, and that custom channel, in my case, would be a platform called Restream, and Restream then enables that to be distributed even further to other places such as LinkedIn Live or Twitch and so on. And all of that's happening right now. So right now, we might have people in the chat bar here who are talking about content or whatever I'm saying, and I should really keep an eye on the chat bar on the right here so I don't lose my place. But also, people will be watching this on all of those other platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on. And all of that content is going out there. But equally, at the end of the event, the video can be downloaded, and I can then do what I want with that. So as a platform, it's mainly seen as an originating platform. As an aside, yes, you can send video content. You can send a feed of video content into Crowdcast from elsewhere, like Zoom, via their RTMP function. RTMP stands for, in case anyone's wondering, is real-time messaging protocol. You don't need to know where that comes from, but RTMP you'll see pop up everywhere. So you could have a Zoom event and feed that into Crowdcast, but I'll cover that in a future webinar. I've done previous videos on that, but I'll get into that in more detail in another show. As I say, I've been producing shows, hundreds of shows over the past 4 years using a variety of platforms like Blab, SmileTime, Zoom, and of course now Crowdcast. So Crowdcast, as I say, it has its limitations. It has many, many features. And what we want to do here is take advantage of those features as much as possible and enhance them where possible. There are certain things that Crowdcast does extraordinarily well, and other things where we can enhance what's being done there. And mainly that means by working on the content that's coming through people's webcams. Most of these tips that I'm going to be showing you about ManyCam will apply to sending video content to other platforms such as Zoom and anywhere else, or even Facebook Live. But right now we're talking about Crowdcast. So ManyCam itself, let me just explain a little bit about ManyCam. ManyCam was created initially as a tool by which you could customize the output from your webcam. So obviously I'm looking at my webcam here. I've got another webcam over here. And I always like to think that when people are seeing me online, then the quality is going to be really good. It's going to be nice, clear audio. For example, I use this for my audio, which is helps to make sure I'm as clear as possible, especially with an accent like mine. It's important that I'm as clear as possible to anyone hearing, and also that the video is as crisp as possible. So that being said, what I would like to do is add additional features. It might be adding logos on the side, titles underneath. I might want to have picture-in-picture. Essentially, what I'm thinking of myself is, can I look like the reporters that you see on news shows, where you've got all of this going on and I look really slick and professional? And when I want to share content, then I can do that in a really slick, professional way. But it's also as simple as possible for me, because let's face it, we don't want to be overcomplicated with the technologies that there are out there. So again, the ability to have full control over all of those elements going through the feed that goes to Crowdcast is why ManyCam exists in the first place. So with that said, let me just cut to ManyCam itself, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, and I'll show you my screen here. So if I just go to, bear with me a second, then what you should see here, I'll move this out of the way. Actually, I'll put it over to here. And I'll pull this out of the way. So I've put that up here. There we go. I'm going back and forward because when you have two screens and multiple cameras, when you move things around, then things can look as if one's inside the other. I'll move it to this for just now so that we're on a static. So I'll just make this full screen. So what you can see full screen is actually, forget about the image in the middle. That's the image for this show. Obviously, you've got me on camera inside there. ManyCam itself has, on the layout here, we have means by which we can go to various presets and playlists that we've set up. Here, with my account, I can have up to 12 different presets. In those presets, I can switch from one to the other simply by cutting, which switches it straight away, or transferring a transition where it'll fade one into the other, and I can put the audio on or off for that. When I'm looking at the screen here, I could change the quality of the visuals by either zooming in like this, or zooming out, of course. I could flip the screen if I wanted to, if I had anything that was a bit wonky. And of course, the color adjustment. The color adjustment is not really so necessary here, but if on this screen that I've got here, if I want to change the color on that, I could easily just wipe that up and down. You can see that having an effect there. So again, you've got the control to make sure that you're looking just as you would want to. If I was looking over this way and I'm actually facing this other camera here, then what I could do is I could switch cameras to this camera here. So now we're more facing myself. There you go. And what I'm going to do is just move this so it's centered. Now with the adjustments on color, let's just have that down a little bit there and that a bit there. That's a bit more like it. Again, as you can see at the top of the screen, I can change the frames per second. Now, for the technical people out there, that'll mean something, but essentially it's the smoothness of the video content that's coming down the line. And again, I could change the quality from 360, 240, right up to 4K if my camera allowed that. And my camera will do up to 1080. So it's set to 1080 just now. 1080p is what you'll see on most high definition TVs. So the quality there is absolutely adequate. Most channels, in fact, Crowdcast, I believe, they will grade your video to about 720. So it's good enough for video on websites, but it's not taking up too much bandwidth. If you were pushing out too much bandwidth, 4K, for example, then your broadband just might struggle with that in terms of the amount of data that's being sent up and down. So again, on the layout here, as I say, this is just a static image. I've set it here. We've obviously got my camera in here as an overlay, as a picture-in-picture. If I were looking at the presets up here, in the presets, we're in preset number 8. I could add additional layers. I could decide to change the layouts of these layers by either making it picture-in-picture as we have here. We could have 3 different images set up. We could have set for 4. I'll not move those around just now, but we could choose to have any permutation of layout there. And it might be that I have a PowerPoint presentation going on, or I've got other videos being shown, or I want to explain something that's happening up here on the video above. So in the presets, we can have any number of presets. As you saw before, I can switch from here to here. I can switch to here, and so on. So again, bearing in mind when you're sharing the screen that you're then sharing elsewhere than with your camera, then you'll see that visual effect coming through. Again, on the side, you'll see the audio. We can edit the audio inputs, global sound, preset audio. My microphone is this Samsung microphone here, and I can obviously adjust the volume there. If I had videos playing or other music playing, then I could have the system sound on, and I've got full control of this. Drawing and texting, I won't dwell on too much, but it allows you to draw on your screen. Louise is saying not to bring her on screen because she's not done her hair. Let's not dwell on that too much. But one of the important things that you might want to do, especially with Crowdcast, is to have a presentation where you're not taking up an additional seat in Crowdcast when you're doing that. So if I was going to switch from here to my second screen, as you can see here, what I will then do is open up my PowerPoint presentation. I'll put this to play here. So what you should be seeing now is my PowerPoint presentation on screen. And if I want to then go through this to make my presentation, then what you're seeing is that there. Now, that's all well and good. That's great. But how about if I wanted on screen to make sure that I was being displayed at the same time? Then having this down in the corner allows me to do exactly that. And I could decide that maybe the position of where I am there is not correct. I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can move that around the screen. And as I say, with your PowerPoint, you can easily go through this. This is a presentation I gave last year on using video in recruitment. We're talking about all the different live streaming channels that can be used out there. So some of those you'll be familiar with. And of course, I've used those, I've mentioned those just before. I'll shoot forward to here. If we have a video playing, then that can be playing right through your video. So I'll skip on from that. But the reason I showed that was that you can be showing PowerPoint presentations with your, I'll just switch this video, your PowerPoint presentations with your video being played in the middle, embedded into the presentation. One of the most important things with Crowdcast, as I say, is the ability to do exactly that. You're in the corner, you've got up here rather, is your presentation, and the ability to have that all going at the same time is vitally important. Now, if I go back to here, one of the things that you'll see on screen, and I'll just zoom in a little bit on myself here. I don't want to scare you, but if I just come in a little bit closer, then that's certainly helpful. One thing, when you zoom in a little bit, then you're able to move around the screen and position yourself. If you're fully zoomed out, you don't really have that luxury. As you can see down here in the corner, keep pointing to the wrong corner, I've got this logo here. If I wanted to move this around according to wherever I was, then I've got complete flexibility for that. On Crowdcast, when you have one person on screen, then you are widescreen. When you've got 4 people on screen, then again, you're widescreen. But if it's 3, if it's that odd number, then Crowdcast tends to make 3 columns in portrait as opposed to landscape. So what you want to be able to do is move your logo in so that you're still being fully branded on screen. If you were making a presentation to any other clients and so on, then it's vital that your branding is on screen. Only yesterday, I was involved in an online conference, and it was really important that throughout, whenever I was on screen, that people knew that I was involved with the organization of the event itself, and having that branding on screen is really vital for that. Now, some of the other things that you can do, if I was looking to change what you're seeing here, which is me on camera, I could right click here and choose any one of these. So as I was mentioning before, in fact, if I put this over to here so that you can see it, and I'm going to share this second screen. I'll just make this full size. Now, pay no attention to what's going on in the background there, but if I right click here, then you can see I can choose my separate cameras. I could choose to select a game. I could choose an IP camera. Again, that's another thing to be getting into. I could choose a mobile app, which is the mobile app for ManyCam. So I could use that as an additional camera, and I'll get to that in a second. I could choose to show media files. If I want to show media files here and choose any of these logos, then I could do exactly that. There we go. So with that logo on there, then that's more static and a bit more pleasing on the eye. But at any time, I could choose to have any of these elements going in there. I can put a media file, which is an image or even a video that's been embedded. I could choose to have a YouTube URL embedded. I could even choose to show any part of my website, my desktop, which could be display number 1 and 2 in my case, or indeed app windows. So there's ManyCam, there's PowerPoint, and all of these programs that are on the go, and I could focus on any one of those. So if I was doing, again, just ManyCam itself, then we'll get that. But if I was choosing, let's see, let's go to app window, let's go to the PowerPoint. So the PowerPoint slideshow, again, that's what you're seeing there. I think my video may have gone off. Now, apologies for this. I think my video feed may have gone off. I'm going to refresh and come back, so bear with me just a second. Sometimes whenever we're working online, we are at the behest of, here we go, the broadband that's working with us. So hopefully this will come on just now. Second, there we go. Back to normal. So as I say, right now what we're doing is we're sharing the ManyCam screen itself. One of the things that I wanted to show you was the ability to switch to playing videos online. So if I switch to here, to here rather, then I can have a video that's been preloaded. What I'm going to do,
my name is
I'm just turn the audio down on that. That's a video I'd prepared earlier. If I want to switch to a next video that I've set up in a playlist, I could click on here and this will come on. Here we go. So videos that have been pre-set up, you can have them playing online. There we go. I've turned the audio down on this so we don't go that too much. Let's just hear a little bit of what these guys are doing. Again, we can pause, we can stop, we can go back and forward, we could have images in there. Now, one of the coolest things that I like about this is actually, if I want to connect to my mobile phone, so I can connect to my mobile phone and effectively use that as an additional camera. So on my phone right now, I'll just connect here. My mobile phone is now asking, do I want to allow access? I've installed the ManyCam app, and that should come up on screen here. What I'm going to do is turn that around here. So what you can see on screen is what I can see. So I can turn it around to myself here. There we go. Or if I wanted to walk around, imagine I was at a conference and I could walk around and show people whatever was going on in the conference. That's the view outside my office today. Nice and sunny in Glasgow. I'll just flip this around. So as I say, as an additional camera, I could have this going on at the same time. And now I've effectively got 3 cameras on the go. If I then change this to, I'll not do that because we're going to have the image going back and forward again. But again, having that third camera means that I can switch from here to here to here. And I've got all the flexibility of doing exactly that. And I can do the exact same thing with images, with any other video content that's been set up in advance, with any other PowerPoint presentation, and all the flexibility that goes with that. I can have logos set up, I can have graphics set up, I can be getting quite creative with the content that I'm sharing online. Now, what I want to do at this point, I'm just going to pull this logo a little bit to the left. What I want to do at this point is double check on any questions. Let me just see. The pop-up, this is from Donna Busher. The pop-up I got when I registered asked if it was okay to get notifications from you. Is that something you added? Yes, I think that's in the settings that when you ask someone to register, you ask if it's okay to get notifications. So you add that when you set up your Crowdcast event in the first place. Next question, when you played the music video, was the sound coming from your speakers feeding back into the mic or playing straight from the music video? It was playing straight from the music video. You do need to test in advance to make sure that your mic isn't picking it up, but the system video audio rather is going through the system, so it should go directly in that case. But what I would always do is try and make sure that I was not speaking at the same time as the video was. There we go. Yeah, the bandwidth was getting the better of me there. may I ask what kind of mic you use? This is a Samsung USB mic. It's a condenser mic. You can get them on Amazon. Cost me, I think, about £70. Definitely well worth having, and it's obviously on a boom arm above the desk, which makes things much easier. You can hear me without having the bother of having a microphone under my face. Are there any other questions? Oh, someone wants to see the ManyCam interface again. So I'm gonna, if I take it off the video and I then share this, then what you will see is desktop display 2. I'll make this larger. So what you'll see here, I'll change this to an image in the background. So just change that there. So what you can see is the ManyCam layout. So my apologies for that. So on the ManyCam layout, as I say, you can choose to have video content. If I had that full screen, then you would have that going down effect. The presets and all the settings are down at the side here, and you can get quite creative with setting those up. If I was setting up a show where I had a series of presets on a playlist, then I would be filling up the playlist here with additional components that I could move one to the other. As you can see, I've got my main camera here. I've got my second camera here. I've got my phone, which is looking at the ceiling on that third camera down there with my eyes right in front of it. There's that video that's been set up there. Here's my PowerPoint presentation. Here is my second screen. And I think that's just a blank screen there. But again, the options that you have for content, you can actually have a website in there as well. You can put in a web URL and as many layers as you want to on screen. Oh, my apologies. I've just noticed that desktop should be showing ManyCam. Now you're going to get the channeling down event because I'm showing ManyCam at the same time as using ManyCam. But sorry about the dark blue, Louise, and the Richmond Forum and Eva. My apologies. I'll recap on that again because I was looking over here whilst not looking at the text on the side. My apologies for that. But if we concentrate down on the bottom left here, you can see this is my screen here. You know, I'm realizing that anytime that I switch, then you're not going to see the thing that I'm looking at. So down here is ManyCam. Over here is this. You can see the ManyCam screen, but my apologies. I should have thought this through in more detail beforehand, but again, when you're demoing ManyCam whilst using ManyCam, then this is kind of an inevitability, and I'm probably straining the system by doing so, because this will be going about 10,000 times down there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to myself and there we go. That's a bit more like it. So, in summary, I noticed at the time we're getting up to about 4:30. In summary, ManyCam is a tool by which you can have all of these features going on at the same time. If you would like to know more about ManyCam and the uses that you could be putting it to, then please contact me directly. I'd be more than happy to help. ManyCam, you can look up, you can see online. There is a free version of ManyCam. I have the studio version of ManyCam, which I think is $60. That gives me pretty much unlimited access to all of the features on ManyCam. There's an in-between account which costs about $29, which is excellent. I've obviously gone that a little bit further, but in the scheme of things, $60 is phenomenal value. And in terms of what you can then do with your Crowdcast events, is light years beyond what you would be able to do otherwise. Do we have any other questions as we've got to this point? Louise is asking, can I use my mobile phone to show you? Let me just use my mobile phone right now. So if I use a mobile phone, I'll switch this around. And again, what you're seeing is the telescopic effect, but that's the screen that we're looking at there. And of course, this, if I do that, then let's not do that so much. Again, demoing at the same time as using is always quite tricky. Any other questions as we get to the half-hour mark? So to use ManyCam, you need 2 screens set up. No, absolutely not, Catherine. And in fact, I used it for a long time without 2 screens. 2 screens is simply more workspace. When you're sharing your screen, if I'm sharing my my PC screen, then and in fact, let me do that right now. I'm going to switch to a channel that's not got my face on it, and I'm going to switch to my first screen. So my screen number 1 is here, and you'll see there's a YouTube video. So in effect, I suppose I could be playing this YouTube video, or I could be showing my PowerPoint. So if I wanted you to see my PowerPoint presentation, then I could do exactly this and show that on screen. So no, you don't have to have 2 screens. 2 screens is nice. 2 screens is a luxury, but it's not essential. I'll just go back to my face here. As I say, the flexibility that you have with ManyCam is immense, and you're really only limited by your imagination. One of the things that I've done in the past in sharing my mobile phone, in fact, let me just do this. If I share my second screen again, bear with me. Display 2. What I'm going to do here is actually share my mobile phone screen, so you'll see exactly what my mobile phone sees. So on here, and if I turn the phone sideways, I'll open up my photographs. This is always very risky, but if I open my photographs and then go to here, then what you can see, and I'll make that full screen. So what you can see is exactly what my phone is seeing. And what I've done in the past is actually use this to show the view from my drone camera as I fly around. So when I'm sharing my drone camera, it means that it could be 400 meters in the sky, but actually transmitting down to my phone and then out to Crowdcast. On the one hand, it's a good gimmick, but on the other is really useful. In fact, if I was connecting to my drone camera now, let's just have a go. If that connects, I will be delighted. No, the drone is not on at the minute. But as I say, when you do that, you have that kind of flexibility. So I'm going to go back to myself on screen. There we go. My broadband is really not my broadband is not cooperating today. Bear with me while I get this back on. There we go. My apologies there. Because I was using all of those features at the same time, then I think I might well have been stressing it as well as the broadband. But on that note, I see Realm Makers asks, with OBS, you lose being able to bring people on screen. Yeah, OBS is a really cool program, and OBS is a lot easier to use now than it used to be, but it's still relatively you need a certain level of technical knowledge to use OBS, and using OBS as your virtual camera can be useful, but it's primarily set up to send RTMP messages to feed into Crowdcast, and then you don't have that same connection with your audience chatting in the sidebar. Catherine, I believe that ManyCam is available for MacBooks as well as PCs. I've obviously used it mostly for PCs. It's also on Android and on iOS smartphones, so you can hook up with that as I did just there. On a scale of 1 to 10, Ryan asks, what's the difficulty with ManyCam? ManyCam for the first time, I'd say the scale of difficulty is about a 2 or a 3, to be honest. It's very simple to get into it. You don't need to get into the crazy features. If you have ever used apps on your phone that allow you to put whiskers and daft hats on, then you can absolutely use ManyCam. It's a breeze, and it allows you to learn more as you go. So it's very straightforward there. Can you use Restream and OBS to use the chat module? Yes, the chat module with OBS is a little bit clunky, if I'm honest. It's not as easy to use as the chat function in Crowdcast. So we're getting the benefits of Crowdcast, but what we're feeding into Crowdcast is the kind of content that has, as a for example, I forgot to mention this earlier on. As for example, you might have titles underneath where you're showing people exactly who they're speaking with. You can have a number of these set up. Here's another one here. So having the titles underneath, the lower thirds set up is a great way of professionalizing the content that you're putting out to people. Let me just check. Any other questions? 2 screens? No. Level difficulty? No. On that note, can I say we've gotten to 36 minutes. I've probably spoken a little bit too fast and brushed over a lot of the features very quickly. There are so many of them. If anyone would like to have a chat in more detail, then I'd be more than happy to get into it with you. Please make contact. I think my link is in the chat bar for following up on LinkedIn. Please contact me or indeed on the Crowdcast forum on Facebook. And at that, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very, very much if you've dropped some tips in the tip jar, and have a super smashing day. Thank you. Bye-bye.